Join me as we talk all things true crime.
Made contact and shattered.
The missing 4-year-old. The parents have called the NSF, but the mother has went for a wall, came home, now they can't find her.
Chad, where are Lori's kids? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say?
4 were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds.
Most of them had just like one that was the lethal stab wound.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Once I told a lie, and I told my family, I had to keep lying.
Experiment is a demon.
We haven't cleared anybody.
Hey everybody, let me know if you can hear me. Welcome to another ATS News live stream. Do me one favor and just hit the like button as we get started. It's been a minute since we've talked Nancy Guthrie, a little over a week actually here on this channel, and I went away with some family like this weekend, so I wasn't able to stream. There's some things that I've noted along the way because I am still following this case closely, and I've been following JLR and other updates that have taken place, including, the federal prosecutors that were seen at the house in late last week. And pretty much we can do a case overview right now and kind of review everything that we know in the Nancy Guthrie case as of today, March 2nd. So February was a short month. March 2nd, tomorrow, basically this week is 1 month since this case has broke. And we have very little updates, if not any movement, since this case kind of started. So here's what we know. Nancy was dropped off at her home by family around 9:48 p.m. on January 31st after dinner. So the dinner was over at her daughter Annie's house, and she has a husband named Tommaso. Around 1:47 a.m. on February 1st, her front door Nest camera was reportedly tampered with and went offline. Later video footage shows a masked person at that door. So just to refresh stuff that we kind of should refresh, because we have to keep the footage of that suspect on her front porch out there. So give me 1 second to kind of change the screen. And as you guys know, they were all seen at the house today. Her siblings and Tommaso. So let me just share that. And you guys let me know what you think of this footage. And just because I usually do that anyways, I want to read what some of these comments are. So first time seeing the son-in-law and listen to Annie making her noises. I'm just reading what people have posted on this post. Funny how she didn't act like that in the videos. And then somebody else wrote, no face shots. I can't read their faces. I don't know. Again, this is Facebook. I believe all are innocent. That's a solidarity show saying it's not T as in Tommaso, the son-in-law, which is a good sign that they don't believe he could have been involved. They really should have picked up on it by now if it was. Very sad for all the family and Nancy. It's horrifying what happened to her. And remember, we had gotten news last week, in the beginning of the week, the sheriff basically saying that the family has been cleared. And I'm curious what everyone thinks about that, because a lot of people have strong opinions about there being some possibly involvement with the son-in-law, specifically ever since Ashley Banfield's report saying that he was the prime suspect. People believe her impeccable source. Prayers, you get your mom back, and through hope, and though hopeful, alive, but if not, bring her home. And I pray you take comfort in your faith and know she is with our Lord. Somebody wrote that, continuing prayers. So I'm just curious what you guys thought of this footage that got shared today. It was new. Hey, Deco and Zoe, good to see you guys. And everyone in chat, so good to see you guys. Hey, Jen, in my honest opinion, he didn't do it, but because of him, it happened. And I feel like my theory where I'm at right now, hold on, let me pull up that camera footage. I said I was just going to play on the screen. Where I'm at right now is we've bounced around with different theories. I feel like it is... I'm just suspicious because they haven't given back her car, Annie and Tommaso's car, yet. It's still impounded as far as I know. And as far as somebody who reached out to the sheriff's office asked about it. And I don't know. It's just, I'm curious about that. And more people are saying that it's not the sheriff who will be clearing people. It'll be the prosecutor who's clearing people. So that's the other thing that's like added to all this. Like, okay, so what does this all mean when the sheriff comes out? And other people have said, I don't believe a thing the sheriff says. So it's like a lot of different opinions. But as far as it being a burglary gone wrong, I don't think so. As far as this being linked to Epstein stuff, like I traveled down that and it's just not really like clicking for me. Like, I don't know. I might have leaned towards it more in the beginning of the first few weeks as a possibility than I am now. With the $1 million reward, I'm still like, why hasn't that tempted anybody to come forward, you know? And it's over $1 million actually, because they're still throwing in the other reward money as well. That makes me think that like the people who know about this are obviously involved and they're not going to come forward. So it being a kidnapping gone wrong is kind of where I'm at. Like, I think that they were hopeful that they would get some money, and then something had happened along the way. Either the scuffle when they either broke in or were already there waiting for her inside her house before she got home from Tommaso's. Maybe something had happened right then and there. Like she fought for her life or wasn't going to leave, easily. And something happened where then they couldn't show proof of life when they did ask for the money. So that I'm kind of like along that theory, or I'm even thinking like, or maybe it was to the extent that she did leave alive, but they didn't realize that she needed her medicine or something. Today, actually, one of the people who got detained did a 14-minute interview too. So I'm going to pull up Luke's interview. But back to the camera footage. So this happened again, 1:47 a.m. Her front door Nest camera was tampered with. Later footage showed a masked person at the door. 2:28 a.m. Nancy's pacemaker disconnects from her smartphone. Investigators use this to estimate timing of her disappearance. She did not attend a planned virtual church service the next morning, prompting concern. Family found her missing and called 911 at 12:03 p.m. February 1st. So the video footage released by FBI shows a masked armed individual. And some people think, which I think is totally possible, that gun in the footage is fake. Like this is all just like a scam. And they actually went through the back. I don't know. I don't understand why they would have gone to the front, like risking there being a camera. And if you prepped and planned this, you didn't know. It's just very bizarre. Like, I just feel like it's to throw things off. He's wearing the black Ozark trail backpack sold at Walmart. They think that he's around 5'9", 5'10" foot tall. Investigators recovered DNA from an unknown individual at the home that doesn't belong to Nancy or known associates. A black glove found near the home appears to match gloves worn by the person in the video, but it contained unknown DNA. Like they couldn't really trace it. And it didn't match anything in CODIS. So now they're probably going to alternate sources for that. Blood matching Nancy's DNA was obviously found on the front porch, confirming a struggle or involuntary departure. The pacemaker data, the disconnection of her pacemaker app helped narrow the likely time frame of her disappearance. So there's no suspects or persons questioned. A man named Luke Daly, who's 37, was detained and questioned following a SWAT search near the Guthrie neighborhood in mid-February, but was released with no charges and no known connection to the case. So that's the interview that I'm going to pull up that just came out today. So we'll watch that. And it says other unrelated individuals arrested on DUI charges near the home were not connected to the investigation. If you guys want more info about who Luke is, I can read that as well. One second. So Luke Daly is a local man who was briefly detained by law enforcement in February 2026 during the federal investigation into Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. Authorities executed a SWAT search and questioned him for the case, and his vehicle, a Range Rover, was reportedly seized for forensic examination. Crucially, law enforcement has not charged him with a crime, named him as a suspect, or presented any evidence linking him to Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. He and his mothers were released without charges, and officials have clarified that he has no known connection to the disappearance. Daly has publicly denied any involvement. So we're going to watch his interview and see how we feel about things. And then I also saved some call-ins that I thought were interesting that took place over the weekend on JLR's stream. So I'll pull that up as well and pop in on JLR and see his live coverage right now. So just give me a second to pull that up. So online speculation and misinformation have played a role in associating Daly with this case. So we're going to listen to what he has to say about being detained and what was asked of him by the Pima County Sheriff's Department. And that it says, however, the Pima County Sheriff's Department and FBI have not identified him as the masked individual. So yeah, I think that it's possible that this was kidnapping gone wrong. Like it was supposed to end with them getting money for her. And unfortunately, like something took place, and that's why they couldn't get any cash, because they couldn't prove like proof of life. So right now, JLR is playing Luke Daly's mother's interview. I'm going to pull up his right now. So nothing going on outside of Nancy's house besides most of the mainstream media, unfortunately, has left. Jen, that's what you think too. Where are you guys at in your theories? I heard sheriff being called lefty because he isn't right. And that's why a lot of people are like, he can clear the family all he wants. I don't know. Like people have strong opinions about it. So I don't know. Like, I don't think that Tommaso, especially looking at them at the house and walking and stuff, like, I don't think that he's the guy in the camera. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's the suspect in the nest footage. Like the walk didn't seem, and the body shape, like didn't seem close enough to me. So this obviously was earlier today. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't like a higher, this is just speculation. This isn't necessarily what I think is the truth, but if it was a kidnapping gone wrong, but I don't think that it's Tommaso in the footage and they've cleared the family, could people have maybe hired somebody to do it and they're like something had gone wrong in the plan? Hi, Scottish Queen. So good to see you. Dev think she is dead by now. Yeah. I almost think like day one she was gone. And that's why when they did do the ransom or whatever, maybe that's what delayed it too. Because remember, we were all like, why didn't they do like a ransom right then and there or right away? It was like sent to the media and TMZ like a couple days into it. And we were all like, why, you know? And then we were all like, why didn't they leave a ransom at the scene at her house? Maybe something vastly went wrong in the plan and it was like all that went out the window. I don't know. Hey, Kelly. Zoe says, I don't think it was him, but he planned it and hired out. I think that everything's on the table for me. I'm sorry. Until we get more information and all this and maybe some people have even said until the FBI comes out saying certain things, they don't know what to think from the sheriff. Hey, Peachtree. Ellie says, first they reported an Uber drove her home and then her son-in-law drove her. There's been things all over the place. And you know that footage that came up this weekend, well, a couple of days ago is somewhat new, I'll say, of that thing driving or that vehicle driving by. I've seen things going around already that are like, they've already cleared this person. But I haven't seen, and then I looked into it, I haven't seen anything official saying that they've cleared that person that was in that footage. Hold on. This came out a couple days ago. You guys have seen it. Police looking at new Ring camera video from Guthrie neighborhood the night she was abducted. And people have already like, and I'm like, why do things get so misconstrued in this case so easily? Because I don't think anybody in this footage has been cleared, have they?
Tonight, this new Ring camera footage obtained by Fox News Digital shows the car driving around 2:30 a.m. the night Nancy Guthrie was abducted. The sheriff's office says they're aware of the video, which was taken about 2.5 miles from her home and outside that 2-mile perimeter where investigators had asked for video. An FBI source tells NBC News since Nancy's disappearance, investigators have amassed 5,000 to 10,000 hours of footage that agents are now going through. It comes as the FBI is in the process of handing Nancy's home back over to Savannah and her family. Two law enforcement sources tell NBC News that after weeks of extensively searching the property, investigators no longer feel a need to seal the home off as a crime scene or restrict the family's access. Nancy Street also now closed down to public parking, limiting the media presence outside the home. This will now be the second time the property has been returned to the family. 2 days after Nancy's abduction, the Pima County Sheriff announces investigators had completed their search.
The scene is done. We're done with the residents. We have turned that over to the family.
But a day after the sheriff said that, the property was sealed off, this time by the FBI.
The main significance of handing the house back is that is going to be the end of the ability to collect evidence. Any evidence that they would collect, any defense attorney would say, this could be contaminated, this could have been planted. This is the end of the line as far as collecting evidence goes.
And with that, Liz joins us tonight live from outside the FBI field office in Phoenix, where many of those thousands of hours of footage and some of that DNA is being reviewed.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. Investigators have to watch every single piece of video in real time. That remains a key part of this investigation. And while there are still many boots on the ground in Tucson, a senior law enforcement official says there are now scores of agents centered here in Phoenix where they're analyzing intel and poring over all that evidence. Tom?
All right, Liz Kreutz for us tonight. Liz, thank you. We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top.
Okay, give me 1 second. Close some tabs out. So yeah, we are unbelievably a month in and nothing, solid. So yeah, what I want to do is play Luke's interview. This is the person who was detained that a lot of people think was the person on the front porch. And then we'll go into some other things that have occurred that are interesting. So give me 1 second. Okay. This came out today. This is Luke, and he has shaved. He shaved his facial hair. Some people think he looks sketchy. Share what you guys think in the chat. This is the first time I'll be watching it through as well.
That you are the person on the surveillance video, the abductor, the masked person. Is that you?
It's not me. I don't see the resemblance of it looking like me, but absolutely not. I have nothing to do with this case.
Nothing to do with it. Do you have any idea who is involved in the abduction?
I don't. If I did, I would happily tell FBI, police, anything. I mean, I, like everyone else, just want Nancy to come home and be safe. But that being said, I have nothing to do with this case, and that's it.
Explain to me what happened on the night you were detained.
Just want to say, like, is he nervous? Lips are totally wrong. He looks heavier set.
How did that unfold in your eyes?
So I was driving home. I noticed two sheriff vehicles following me. They pulled me over at the Culvers right there, asked me to get out of the car, didn't tell me what it was about. So they had me cuffed in the back of a cop car, detained. I was asking, like, what am I being detained for? And they wouldn't tell me anything. They just said that the detectives would be there to talk to me. And once I saw, like, FBI and all the other cars start pulling in, I'm like, oh, this is probably about the Guthrie case. I'm like, this should be easy. Like, I have nothing to do with this, so it should be not a big deal to clear my name. And
do you find it odd that he figured out himself before being told that this was related to the Guthrie case? Because remember, Carlos, like, had no idea that that case was even gone. So just comparing the interviews of the two people who have been detained, Carlos was the first one and basically, like, had no idea about this case. And that was earlier in the investigation when things were really crazy, like on media and social media.
But the whole time during the questioning, didn't really seem like more of like a fishing expedition for them to try to get me to say something, because all the dates I was telling them where I was, things like that. I'm like, all you'd have to do is look at my phone and see my location. It was nowhere near anywhere or have any connection to this.
And for him to say, go ahead and look at my phone, you'll see my location. I was nowhere in connection to this. It's like anyone, which we found out specifically in the Koberger case, you know, his phone activity was interesting around because it was centered around it being turned off of the time of death for those victims, right? So just because your phone isn't in the vicinity of the crime, like, clearly you could just leave your phone elsewhere and just be like at the crime scene, but your phone's not. So just noting that he also brought up that doesn't fully exonerate you. I don't believe Carlos, he was up to something, in my opinion. Really, Deco? That's interesting. And think about it this way, like, we're this far into this case, a month in, and we don't have any answers. So everything's still on the table in one way, shape, or form. Some things might seem more probable than others, etc.
But still, it was tough, like, being there. Like, I mean, I don't trust the FBI to the extent that I'm like thinking that there's pressure on this case and they want to find the person. So like the whole time while I'm sitting in the back of the cop car, I'm like panicking, thinking that I'm going to be framed for this or they're trying to pin this on me somehow.
Did they tell you what led them to you? I mean, something made them believe they needed to talk to you about it. What was that?
I asked them. They didn't tell me any information about that. And I have thought of any type of reason why they could have come after me. But there's nothing. And I think that's why they didn't tell me.
Were you in the area of the home at the time, like the overnight, or would it have been something like, we've tracked this person near?
Well, I live near her house, but I mean, I didn't even know that until after the fact. Like I barely just learned where her actual house was in relation to mine. So I didn't even know.
Had you ever met her?
No.
Did you know who she was?
I knew who she was because my mother was following the case. But in terms of other than that, I would just go off what my mother was telling me.
And so how long were you detained for?
It's interesting also because in a way, he's still following the case, even though he says, oh, my mother was following the case. I would just go off of what she told me about it. And it's like, so you had conversations with your mom about the Nancy Guthrie case. Like, you could look at that two ways. As one, everyone's kind of been talking about it, especially at this point in time when he was detained. Or two, sometimes people who are part of crimes follow the media very closely, not saying that mother was involved, but he seemed very curious, like in this situation, enough to have conversations with his mom about it. I don't know. I'm curious what the comments on this video says. When we're done, we'll go through them. Because a lot of people are like, he has dry mouth, which is a sign of, deception. They think him shaving his facial hair is odd.
Probably maybe 4 or 5 hours.
In the back of that car the whole time? And they searched your Range Rover extensively?
Yeah, they searched Range Rover. They towed my Range Rover. Did all DNA testing or whatever, and then gave it back to me. Took my cell phone. I've had no way to get a hold of anyone, which is probably a good thing because everyone's looking at me like I'm this person that I'm not. So it's been rough.
You got your car back?
Yes.
In rough condition, or was it okay?
Well, when I went to pick it up, like it wouldn't start. I guess they drained the battery down, and it was just covered in the whatever white substance that they use for testing. But yeah, then I got it started up, and it wasn't. Luckily, it wasn't damaged in terms of like repairs or anything. But
so when they released you, what did they say? They say you're free? Did they say never mind? I mean, what was the verbiage there from them?
They had just told me that they were still at my house, so I couldn't go home. But they drove me somewhere near the house and just dropped me off. I was like, well, I don't have a phone. How am I supposed to figure out when I can go back to the house? They basically said, you're just gonna have to figure that out. So, I mean.
He for sure seems nervous. Is it because he's on camera being asked questions and just kind of nervous that way? Or is it more? Is it something or is it nothing,
For maybe an hour or so. I had a friend that lived near the area, and I walked over there. They weren't home, so I was just waiting, like basically just on their patio. And then it got to the point where I'm like, well, they should be done by now. I walked back to my house, and this was like the worst part for me, is getting there and seeing the house torn up. But the worst part was my mom not being there, and her being elderly and having AFib and things like that. I'm thinking the worst. Like, I see her cars here, but she's not there, and I don't have my phone to get a hold of her. So I'm wondering what happened, if I need to start calling hospitals or what the deal was. But luckily, I guess she went to one of the neighbors, but I didn't find it out until the next day.
Right. You were detained and released, but you've said it, your face, your name, it's everywhere online. People still believe you were either involved or did this. What's that been like for you to have your name, your picture, even a past mugshot all over the internet associated with this case?
I mean, for me, it's terrible. It's hard to go anywhere, and the hard part is they're making all these assumptions based on things that have absolutely no relevance, and they're just bringing up my past, which I haven't. I mean, I do have a past, but nothing violent or anything like that. All my past has just been involved with using drugs, and I haven't been in that life for over 2 years now. So all the things that they're bringing up, yeah, I guess it's public record, but it never would have came out if it wasn't for all these people speculating and doing things like that. So now people that had no idea about my past, so I've done like a good job of working past it and not having anything to do with it. So them doing that now is kind of just reopening this whole speculation and make me out.
And also think, like, they don't just detain you for no reason, or your vehicle. You know, there must have been something that was leading them there.
It's been you. People have found, records of an alleged girlfriend of yours. There's been a lot of rumors swirling around. What do you want to say about those rumors, about you, about her, about, everybody that people have looked at and said, well, they could do this?
Yeah, first of all, that's not my girlfriend. I barely knew that girl, and I was arrested with her on a completely different circumstance over a year ago. I haven't talked to her since, and I guess they're just going off of the arrest saying that I was arrested with her. So, but I hardly know her and don't associate with her. But in terms of everything else, I mean, all the speculation is just going off of, I don't even know if people really believe it, but online it just seems like they're pushing this narrative. And
I can't do a split screen, but I can, hold on. Let me pull that back up so that we can focus on his face real quick. I'm going to compare him to a photo of the person on the porch. So examine his face. I know you guys have looked at the porch footage. We played it a little bit prior to this, but let's just see a quick look. And also somebody made that one image that kind of had this one. Hold on. Let's do the masked one first. Sorry, I'm looking through all my photos and I don't know. Of course, I don't have the one of him. I have the thumbnail, but that's not really going to help. I have this. Apparently that's Luke, who was just on the screen. Hold on. I don't know. I'm all over the place with what I feel about this interview. And again, they let him go and they released his vehicle, and apparently they still have Annie's vehicle. So, but the sheriff has cleared Annie and Tommaso, I guess. Here I have this one. I think I have another one too. And I obviously have those shorts that I did on my YouTube that have all the pictures like set up that we played earlier. Hold on. And I can't zoom, but got that. Now, so many people swear that that masked person is a woman and that they think that some woman put on layers of clothing to bulk themselves up or change the shape of their body. This is what what people are saying. So we've got this one, kind of a side one with the nose a little bit. And other people are saying that there's two masks that they're wearing. So that they think that this person has multiple masks on, and which I think is interesting too. And of course, apparently there's this one that was created of him. Hold on. Remove. Let's finish his interview, then we'll read the comments on it. And then here he is. He's shaved, apparently, people are saying. And he doesn't have the facial hair that he did in that one image. And also, like, not to be like too judgmental, but he's talking about his life with drugs and stuff, and it was being 2 years ago. Like 2 years isn't that long ago, and it can financially drain people. Was he desperate? This is just speculation because all things are on the table. But I just, something I noted, it was kind of like, okay, yes, 2 years, but at the same time, it's like, if we're talking about a kidnapping gone wrong or something like that, was he desperate to bounce back from how many years of struggling and draining things? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud as I'm watching this because I haven't watched this without reacting here with you guys. So
I don't know, basically like circus, like they're pushing this narrative and trying to make connections with things that are I don't know, basically like circumstantial, like saying my eyelashes match the guy in the ski mask picture.
that's also weird to me that he's using the term circumstantial. It's like he's already in a legal defense against these accusations. It's like if they let you go and you're not the guy, like, I don't know. Again, he is talking about his experience when he was detained. So maybe that's just how he references things. I don't know. But either way, I'm curious what you guys are thinking about him saying, like, it seems like everything that they were using against me was circumstantial, like my eyelashes. I think it looks like the first person they interviewed. I also think it could be a female. Carlos? Are you talking about the first person that was detained, Betsy? And thank you for your comment. Scottish Queen thinks that the masked person looks very feminine. Or this guy. Who are you saying very feminine? Put the half mask picture up again. Okay, hold on. That is him.
Use anyone's picture and find similarities.
And you don't recognize the person on that?
Hi, Crusha.
In that footage?
No, I don't.
Good to see you.
But in terms of all this, like I said, they're comparing my face to this. They're talking about my Range Rover, which I didn't even buy until after she was reported missing.
It was a new car, yeah? For you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, just thinking out loud, like, okay, so Range Rovers obviously cost money. So maybe he isn't financially struggling. Just kind of trying to work through this mentally, guys. Curious where you guys are at. Yeah, Carlos was the first person. So you think Carlos looks the most like the masked guy? Now I'm trying to look at your comment. You think the masked person looks like Carlos? You also think that it's possible if it's not Carlos, it's a female. Gotcha. I think I understand now. Sorry. Yes, he looks suspicious. Hi, Michael. Good to see you. Ruth Ann. Deco says, interesting. What did he drive before? And where is it? Okay, I need to hear that again about when he got that Range Rover.
It's like I said, they're comparing my face to this. They're talking about my Range Rover, which I didn't even buy until after she was reported missing.
It was a new car, yeah?
Yeah.
For you?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, were you going to come into some money or something? And again, I don't know his bank statements. Like maybe he already has money. So I don't know. I'm all over the place. You're fine, Betsy. So am I in this case. It's hard to kind of find your footing in either direction. I know it's not just us either. Everyone's like, what is going on here? Months later, tomorrow exactly. Is the sheriff going to do a presser? What do you guys think?
They're talking about another car that was towed off my property. That car wasn't an accident, has nothing to do with this. It wasn't towed in relation to this case. It was being towed by the insurance company to assume if it was totaled or not. So.
Okay, the car he's referencing there, JLR caught on camera live when he went to Luke's house. And I believe it was Luke's mother's house. Anyways, there was a car in the driveway. I believe it was a Challenger. Help me remember, guys, if you guys remember. It was dark blue, I know that. And it had like a cover partially on it or whatever, but you could see the front was all smashed up. Do you guys remember that? So that's the car he's referring to here. Yeah, I wish people didn't know who it was who was being detained, because at this point, none of them have been arrested or linked, and now they have to put up with people coming for them. That is unfortunate. Carlos was saying that he's going to sue. And actually, on that note, there's articles going around saying that the Guthrie family is thinking of suing Ashley Banfield. So I wanted to pull that up too. So thanks for reminding me, Neat. It's good to see you. It is unfortunate for them, for sure. I just feel like the mainstream media has done the same thing. But yeah, let's hear. Not saying that excuses it. I just feel like once people start following the case, like unfortunately, they'll follow exactly where the cops are going when they leave the station. Like what's this headed towards? The SWAT team, basically. Women always remember the color of the car. The one that was smashed up, Katrina, it looked fairly new. Agree, Neat. When I saw it, and there's been more than one article that's been saying it. And I'm like, are these just rumors? Because there is no official statement, but there's multiple sources that are basically saying that the Guthrie family is thinking of suing Ashley Banfield. So hold on, I'll pull those up after Luke stuff. And also, I do think like they don't. I'm wondering why he even did this interview, because it's like if you're not involved, like just carry on. It almost makes it look more suspicious, sadly, because people are like, why is he nervous? And he could just be nervous because he's on camera,
Had nothing to do with the case. There's no evidence to point towards me other than speculation.
You really have no idea what led them to you in this case?
Absolutely not.
Still a mystery to you?
Yes, and I would love to find out.
Were you dealing mostly with sheriff's deputies or FBI agents when you were detained?
When I was detained by the sheriffs, but in terms of all the questioning was done by the FBI.
What would you like to say to both PCSD and the FBI?
Basically what I told them before, if there's anything, I'm happy to help. If there actually was something real that I could help them with, but like I said, they have my phone, they went through my phone. So, I mean, if it was anything real, they could look through that and hope clear my name.
And again, I'm not saying he is involved. I'm just saying it's very easy to use a burner phone, and it's very easy to, some people have multiple phones and they only hand over one of them to law enforcement. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm not saying he's involved. I'm just saying, like, for him to say earlier, like, you could check the location of my phone the night of the crime, it wasn't anywhere near it. And for him to say they looked through my phone, they didn't find it. I'm just saying all that can be fabricated by a criminal. But again, they could have still been kind of reaching with this detainment because they released his vehicle back, But again, then we find out he didn't get that Range Rover until after Nancy went missing. So that's also noteworthy.
But in terms of the collateral damages, this being part of it, there's not really any type of way. There's no going back from this.
For your whole family too. I mean, your mom has had to go through this too. As a family, how has this made you guys feel collectively together to kind of be in this public shock, this public scrutiny?
It all just seems like a nightmare. I mean, it doesn't seem real, and it's just been, we're all it's just been a nightmare. I know my mom, she has like problem with stress, and
I can't even think of a greater nightmare than being detained and accused of something you had nothing to do with. But Betsy says this man looks too similar. Do you guys believe him or not? I'm going all over the place because I'm like, I kind of believe him. Yeah, why do the interview? He's sort of answering like Richard Allen did. He's not straight up saying yes or no, etc. He's saying there's no evidence, or I couldn't have done that. No, yes. And when he was saying earlier, he was like, you can check the location of my phone. It wasn't anywhere near the crime. And it's like, Neat believes him. Yeah, what's the end game? Deco believes him.
before this, after this, she's been a lot more stressed. It's been.
You think Richard Allen would not be the guy though, too? So now I'm like,
it's been hard. I'll let her speak to how it's affected her, but I mean, in terms of collectively as a family, it's been a nightmare.
What's your message for Nancy Guthrie's family?
I mean, I like everyone else. I want to see her come home. I want the actual suspect to be found. I think it's really unfair to them to give them false hope by going off whatever they went off to have this huge investigation and raid happen. To me, it's like giving them false hope that they had a suspect and then it was nothing.
That too.
And I'm not the first person either, so I think it's wrong in that sense.
Doesn't look
This
good.
is your first interview since you've been detained. What's your hope in putting your voice out there now that people will get from this interview?
I mean, for my personal interest, I would just say just not to go off speculation of everything you hear on the internet and kind of like the hive mind mentality that someone says something and then they just go off of it based on no evidence, no truth. But I mean, in terms of like moving forward, I just want to be cleared, have actual verification that I was cleared by the FBI and sheriff, whoever else.
Have they officially cleared you?
I don't date. This is just going off what I've heard, but I guess I've been cleared, but they don't close any case, I guess, because it's still ongoing. But
okay, that's interesting, and that makes sense. They can't officially, like the sheriff said in one of his statements, I'm saying one of them because he's flip-flopped so many times, that he can't clear anybody officially because he might end up pulling them back into the investigation at some point. And then he came out a week or two later saying the family's been officially cleared, and they have been from the very beginning or close to the beginning of it. So they've been able to come out to the public and clear the family, but they told him that there's no official clearing because at any point he could be brought back into things. And like, did the FBI tell him that, or did sheriff tell him that? That's because that seems sort of what we've seen go in other cases. Like, we can't clear anybody yet. It's very, very soon in the investigation, and anyone could be pulled back into things. But now the sheriff has officially cleared the family, and yet they haven't returned Annie's vehicle.
Nothing else that they're gonna come across that points towards me. So
Unequivocally, you are not the person, you are not involved.
Absolutely, 100%.
Is there anything else you want to clear up that people may have said, that you've seen, that you feel that you have the opportunity now to address?
Hi, Coffee.
Nothing particular is coming to mind right now. Obviously, I'm nervous. This is, like I said, my first interview, and I'm not trying to get any more attention from this. I just want to put it out there for me that I had nothing to do with this, and I'm hoping that the truth will come out, whatever that may be. I have no idea.
I appreciate your time. Chris, do you have anything that you want Luke to address or add? Luke, is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you want to address or talk about while you're here? Just want to make sure that you get your opportunity to say anything you want to.
I just want to say again that I hope that she's safe. I hope they find her, and I just want to move on with my life and not have any. It's been hard. Like, I can't go anywhere. Everyone gives me dirty looks, and they see me in my car. Like, I would assume that they, like, I don't know, people are just think I'm like this person, and it's been hard, like, leaving, going anywhere, doing anything. So I'd like to be able to go about my life and not have this shadow of doubt casted over me.
I was weary in the beginning, but like, before I look at the comments, I wanted to get my opinion out before I read them, but I feel like I believe him. But some of the comments here, this is Facebook. So again, differences in opinions are very vast sometimes in these public forums like this website for Brianna. Polygraph time, somebody else said, I have never heard of this guy regarding this case. Somebody else said, really looks like him, talking about the masked guy. He wasn't looking her in the eye when he answered. Very telling. 4 people liked that. My guy never looked her in the eye and breathed heavy the whole interview. He did say that he was kind of nervous, like, just because this was one of his first interview with media. But these are just people's opinions. Again, why would he have been a suspect then? Someone turned him in for a reason that they thought was worth detaining him for, and his mother. But I did see some of her interview, and I felt like she came off very truthful and that I believed her. I hope he is able to carry on with his life and people leave him alone. I started listening to Crime Junkies. 95% of the cold cases they cover show investigators on all levels botching crime scenes, forgetting or mishandling evidence, falsely accusing innocent people. How can they detain someone and not tell them why? He really should have called out their failures in this case. The family should also call out the failures in how this has progressed. Yeah. It's almost like he's thinking what to say as he goes, he keeps shaking his head no. I've heard that if someone is shaking their head no, that means they're lying about something. I don't know. That's just somebody giving their opinion on Facebook will note that. He sounds really nervous. He's all confused. No eye contact. He's shaved now. Suspicious. Somebody said he's innocent. Didn't he have a mustache before? He's scared. He's nervous. I don't believe he's involved. Can you imagine being pulled over and questioned about something like this and your name and face plastered all over and you're innocent? He apparently cooperated. His mother cooperated. His car was left a mess. Their home was trashed. He has a record, so everyone assumes he's guilty of something. I feel bad for him. 6 people like that. This guy is bigger than the guy in the video footage. I don't care what anyone says. Like, I felt like it's hard to say because it's shoulders up, but I don't know. Wonder how tall he is. And remember, the note of the height, 5'9" to 5'10", is coming from the FBI. He's not looking you in the eye. He definitely resembled the masked guy, eyes and lips. He acts shady. I thought that they detained 2 people at the house, his mom and some guy in Luke's vehicle. They did. Mustache shaved. I hope she's safe. I hope they find her, and looks down while he was saying it. And again, we can't always go off of body language, but I haven't looked at your guys' comments. Let me just X out of there. I completely agree with that. I was going to say he seems a bit bigger than the person on the doorbell cam. Let me pull up the doorbell cam again. Hold on. I've got 2 videos, shorts for it. So I'll pull up both of them. This guy was one of the 2 guys that was detained, Rita. So over the course of this month, because tomorrow marks officially a month, this is one of the 2 people that were detained. He was released. His vehicle was released. Want to make that clear also. And he was never named as a suspect. So I mean, I couldn't tell because he was sitting down, but looking at the shoulders up here, I felt like that guy that we just watched the interview of is bigger. But then again, people saw that side by side where it's his face and stuff, but it's so hard to tell. It really is. But I definitely think it's possible that that gun was fake. Always have thought that. Like, I've thought that this whole front of the house thing is like, I don't know, staged somehow, way, shape, or form, even if it's a fake gun. I do think I see what people mean by there being 2 masks. Like the person's layering up with 2 masks on. I think I kind of see what people mean. Hi, Harlot. Good to see you. So, yeah. Let's pull up this article about, because again, we go back to, okay, if it's not that dude that was detained because he was let go. Hold on, let's play this. Have you guys seen this guy's reels? He's really funny, but he's been following the case, and I think Megyn Kelly had him on.
The family, Savannah, Annie, and Tommaso, a united front today, showing up at Nancy Guthrie's home and appearing before her memorial, and they left flowers, and Annie appears to have left a card for Nancy. So very much showing a united front. Tommaso is there. There's been a lot of speculation surrounding Tommaso. All 3 of them very visibly emotional. I can only imagine what this family is going through. But we're now a month in. We still have no answers. Sheriff Nano seems to have disappeared now. And you know what? I'm not mad about that. Sheriff Harvey seems to have gone off the case as well. I don't know where everybody else has gone, but we do know that the Tucson, Arizona Sheriff's Department has wanted everybody to leave. The media started to clear out. who knows what happens next? Savannah is expected to be returning to the Today Show soon. She's expected to be headed back to New York, but lots of unanswered questions, and I go through them on today's podcast. You guys have been asking what my official theory is. So on No Filter with Zach Peter, today I break down all of the different theories. We get into.
All right. So then we have, this is the latest article, but there is more than one. So this has been going around as rumors from multiple sources on the internet that, because we go back to, so many people cling to Ashley Banfield's reporting and statement from her impeccable source, those are her words, that the prime suspect was the son-in-law, so Annie's husband. But there's rumors going around that the Guthrie family is considering legal action against Ashley Banfield. So I wanted to read the latest one that came out a couple weeks ago at this point, but there's more than one out there that are basically saying the same thing. But I haven't seen anything like in concrete. So there's just a lot of people that questioned where the source of this crime comes from. Some people really think that it is somebody close to Nancy. So you guys share your thoughts as I read this, and then I'll check back with chat. And I have screenshots of another website that has this, where you could easily find this stuff going around with a Google search. So legal fireworks may be on the horizon for Savannah Guthrie's family after her now cleared brother-in-law was reportedly branded a prime suspect in the shocking abduction of her mother, Nancy. Journalist Ashley Banfield alleged an impeccable source told her investigators had zeroed in on Tommaso Cioni during the early stages of the probe. But after the Pima County Sheriff's Department publicly and unequivocally cleared his name, insiders say the family is weighing its options and a lawsuit could follow over the explosive allegation. People took proximity and turned it into conspiracy, a media source told Hollywood insider Rob Shutter, who wrote about it on Substack. That's not journalism, that's dangerous. After the immediate Guthrie family and all relatives were cleared in Nancy's disappearance, a second insider said possible legal action is on the horizon. Clearing someone quietly doesn't undo loud damage. Another source noted about Cioni ended up under and how he ended up under the microscope. If you questioned him publicly, you should clear him publicly. Legal action looms. So basically they're saying Ashley Banfield, is that what this quote is saying? If you questioned him publicly, you should clear him publicly. Legal action looms. Nancy has been missing this at this point. Like I said, this was 16 days. We're on day 30. And while Guthrie remains broken, yet publicly hopeful that she is found alive, the insider noted they're devastated and they're innocent. Guthrie family was nothing but cooperative and gracious with investigators. To be clear, the Guthrie family, to include all sibling and spouses, has been cleared as possible suspects, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nano said in a powerful statement February 16th, 12 days after Banfield's initial report about Tommaso being the prime suspect. And other people, to play devil's advocate to that statement, say, I don't believe a word the sheriff says. So there's that. He continued, the family has been nothing but cooperative and gracious, and they are victims in this case. Nanos went on to scold the media over reports on Tommaso's alleged involvement, saying to suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it is cruel. The Guthrie family is victims, plain and simple. Please, I'm begging you, the media, to honor your profession and report with some sense of compassion and professionalism. Says Tommaso's name was dragged through the mud. Tommaso deserves a public apology, one source said to Shutter. His name was dragged through the mud for absolutely no reason. Now, other people, again, to kind of play devil's advocate to that, say, well, I mean, they allegedly were the ones who saw Nancy last. and she was last in that vehicle that hasn't been returned yet. Just saying. Hours after Banfield's report on February 4th, Nanos confirmed to the New York Times that Tommaso, not his wife, Annie Guthrie, as previous reports indicated, had dropped Nancy off at her Tucson home. Nancy had dinner at the couple's house that evening before vanishing without a trace hours after returning home. Nanos later backtracked on his claim, of course, to the publication saying a relative drove Nancy home and refusing to specify whether it was Annie or Tommaso, which only further confused matters as to who was the last person to see her before her horrific kidnapping. And then it says, Ashley Banfield stands by her reporting. Banfield stood her source's claim about Tommaso during her February 12th appearance on Dan Abrams, saying nothing's changed, I can just hear it, about him being prime suspect. But I will say this, the day after I did that report, my source says things have really tightened up, she went on to reveal. Convenient after you got over 2 million views with that title thumbnail that says prime suspect to go in there we broke that thing down and it was just ridiculous. Let me just say, and again, some people will still say, I believe Ashley and I believe her reporting. And some part of me kind of does, I'm all over the place. It's still up on the table for me. Maybe her source was correct. But because they don't believe what the Sheriff Nanos is saying for whatever reason, which is still kind of in the air for me too. Should I believe? I don't know. We don't know what to think at this point. The former NBC News correspondent boldly told Abrams, the folks in the sheriff department are worried about retaliation because of the leak. And I thought to myself, well, if it's not true, there wouldn't be any worry, And then on the third day, he said, what I can tell you is when they take shots at you, you're standing on the target. So that is coming from Ashley Banfield, apparently. So she's backing her claims still. And her source seems to kind of keep her in that direction as the day February 12th when that was reported. This is from today. So it says mother hits so the search for Savannah Guthrie's mother hits 1 month mark. What we know today about the Guthrie disappearance. And we already went through all this in the beginning of the stream, an overview of everything we know, including federal prosecutors being at the home last week. So I don't really feel the need to go through everything. We talked about the reward, etc. And the fact that nobody has come forward with an over $1 million reward is noteworthy. Hold on, let me see what JLR is up to. Okay, he's already ended his stream for the day. So I want to pull up, did you guys see Chris McDonough, the interview room, talk about how he and his wife talked to the press officer, the one that handles the press, basically? I can't even think of the name, the formal term. And they confirmed to them that they still had Annie's car impounded. Did you guys see that? It was really interesting. And then I also want to play an interesting call that took place on the JLR show, one of his streams this weekend, because he's been taking calls. So I think it's interesting how, let me pull that up. They spoke. So I don't know. It's noteworthy that they still have Annie's car. Again, this was as of the end of last week. This came out a day ago. 2 days at this point, I think.
The media to honor your profession and report with some sense of compassion and professional.
So Karen, his wife, is going to talk about how she had an email correspondence with the sheriff's office and was honing in on whether or not Annie's vehicle was still in the impound yard. And I just want to kind of go over that and keep that in our mind as we're going through like what we think happened to Nancy, because so many people were kind of in agreement with Chris and his guest, who was also in the stream. You can watch the whole stream over on the interview room, but I'm just going to play the beginning where they talk about the email. They're basically like, why wouldn't you just release the vehicle? If it had no evidentiary value, why are they holding on to it? But then they also have this whole but he also said that the family is cleared. So it's just noteworthy, I think. So if you haven't seen it, I'll play it right now, and you can watch the full stream over there. If you have seen it, it's just a refresher on something to keep in mind in the whole puzzle of everything.
And so, I think that was a shot at Ashley Banfield.
Okay. So this is allegedly Tommaso and Annie's vehicle. They only have one vehicle that they share. I know exactly what you're saying, Scottish Queen. I was kind of like, Personally, I don't think I could go back to work when your mom is missing. I'm surely morning TV would give Nancy's daughter paid leave. It's like interesting right at the month mark. Again, I don't want to sound too judgy. Maybe she feels like getting back in routine would help her grief. You know what I mean? But it's interesting that besides them going to the house today and putting flowers down, showing us a united front, we've kind of noted that. We haven't heard them come out saying their thoughts on the sheriff and the investigation. I don't know. Again, it's a touchy subject because how are they supposed to act? She just put up $1 million and they've gotten a bunch of thousands at this point of new tips, they stated. So hopefully as they go through the list and what something leads them in the right direction, right?
Reported this car right here belongs to Annie, and this is a picture of it being towed away from the house.
And that was back in the first couple of days of the investigation.
Right, which got us thinking, well, wait a minute. If, we didn't think Ashley Banfield would have gone out that far, with her professional sources and to, put it into the environment that this car right here that you're looking at with the big circle on it would have not been impounded. And if so, if it was impounded, the only thing I could have thought of, from an investigative aspect, and Bob, you weigh in here as well, is you don't impound the cars from the family whose mother's been abducted unless there is a linkage somehow to the investigation. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And they wouldn't have kept the car this long either. So even if it did have some minor evidentiary value, let's say hypothetically it was stolen or something, and they thought that it would have some evidence, they would have returned it to the family by now. So it is significant, in my opinion, that they have continued to hold it. And at this point, it's been several weeks, about 3 weeks since they took the car. So it has significant evidentiary value, in my opinion. That's not an indictment on the owners of the vehicle. It's just simply stating an educated guess on why they're holding it that long, because it is significant to the case.
And that's another great point. We are not saying that anybody is implicated in this. We are just simply asking the questions. Do you still have the car, and why? And if we didn't get the why piece of this answered from Pima County, but we did. We were told that, yes, they still have the car impounded in their custody, and it is, quote, part of the investigation, end quote.
Now we know they gave Carlos his car back. They gave the Range Rover back to Luke, whose interview we just listened to, and he spoke about that. He also said, just to keep refreshing the things that have been stated, that he didn't get that Range Rover until after the crime. So we're just throwing that out there because in the whole puzzle of all this, we don't know where it all fits, because there must have been some reason to detain Luke. And they told him that they couldn't clear him officially because anyone could be pulled back into something. So leave that all out there if what he said was true.
So read some of the emails or some of the conversations you had with the PIO.
Sure.
And this is from the horse's mouth at the sheriff's department. Okay. And remember, this is the only channel, okay, that within 2 days after we started dissecting this case and we put the panel together and all started saying, okay, if this was ours, how would this thing flow? Okay. And the thought process was there are 2 lanes going that the FBI, train number 1, I said, left the station. They're going to chase all the Bitcoin. They're going to, put all the, technical resources, evidence resources in. But at the house, Pima County Sheriff's Office is going to stay in that lane because that's going to be their homicide guys working this case from that position. So what did we all see? We all saw the timeline come out. We all questioned. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody, like even everybody in the chat and our subscribers, our members, we all started critically thinking, going, wait a minute, there's a gap in the garage door timeline. We have the 948, 950, but we don't have if, in fact, that garage ever opened up at any other time. And I thought that was an anomaly, and everybody else agreed, and we came to the consensus, okay, well, that's a big question mark. How did they get into the house? And then if you watch just recently where we had Maureen and Bob, with Maureen and others, I brought up the fact that there is one door that nobody's questioning, and that was on the patio, okay, the sliding glass door. It is a small pony wall that anybody could just jump over. And so that gave the front door as a point of entry. It gave the garage as a point of entry. It gave the 2 back doors, one to the garage, one to the interior of the house as points of entry. And it also gave 2 slider doors as points of entry into that house. So there's a total of 6 points of entry into that house. What's interesting is the sheriff said, well, we're not going to release that information, okay, not to the public at this point. Okay, so we're going to talk about that here in a couple of minutes. So, hon, what did the PIO say to you directly? Because you talked to him.
Right. Okay, so my conversation was with one of the public information officers at Pima County Sheriff's Department. They work directly for Sheriff Nanos. So I asked about whether Annie's car was still an impound or whether it was returned back to her. And first, this PIO said, quote, as for the vehicle question, that's part of the investigation. Okay, so I got that in an email. And then I spoke with him on the phone yesterday and had a little bit more of a conversation with him. And again, pressed him on the question, do you still have her car? He said, well, we can't answer that. Quote, we can't answer that. We don't want to give away, quote, any information related to this case. I asked him again if he could confirm whether Annie's car was still there. And I said, look, if it's not still there, then say so, which would go along with what the sheriff said by releasing the statement saying, well, the family and their spouses have all been cleared. And I said, look, we don't want to report erroneous information, of course. And then I said, okay, hypothetically, let's talk. If this were a completely different case, if this wasn't the Guthrie case, and if the sheriff had impounded a car during an investigation, and then that person was cleared, would that car be released to that person or would you keep it? And the PIO said, well, yes, we would release that car because that is what typically happens. Okay, so that was the conversation. And then he came back and said, well, again, he repeated himself, the car is part of the investigation. And to be clear again, I want to say
after he told you, I'll answer you later in the afternoon.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that's what he came back with. Okay.
So that's the new running line now. The car, Bob, yes. The car is part of the investigation.
It's part of the investigation. I want to be clear again. We are not saying that the family is involved. We are not implicating anybody.
No.
We are asking these questions of the sheriff who is running the investigation.
Yeah, very legitimate question too. I mean, you know, without beating a dead horse here, you hold a car that long, there is some evidentiary value to it, no doubt in my mind. So, and I think that value, that evidentiary value is significant in this case.
And that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
That totally makes sense. And just hang on before you make that point. I mean, look, we saw when they made, I guess it was the hot stop down in Rio Rico, and they detained Carlos. They searched him. They got a search warrant for his house, and then they released him, right? So it would stand to reason if somebody's cleared, they're going to release the vehicle.
And we just heard Luke say that they released his too. But then we also heard him say that he didn't get his vehicle until after the crime. So, yeah. And where was that vehicle that was in his driveway that was all smashed up? He said he was waiting to hear back from insurance on whether they were going to total it or not. So where did that car go? And did that car ever get looked at for whatever reason? Because that was smashed up. That can be seen on camera in one of JLR's stream when he went to the house. I don't know. Could totally be unrelated to anything like he claims, you know? And hello, Melly. Good to see you. Even if they had suspicion of the car, a month seems a very long time to find something. I don't know. And it's so difficult because people say things like, well, she was in that vehicle, one of the last places she was, you know? Maybe that's why they're holding on to it. But if they're cleared, then you would return it. Yeah, I thought people normally don't clear people that they cleared when someone else was convicted. And that Luke guy said that he isn't officially cleared because he said that they told him that at any point you could get pulled back into things. Last thing I wanted to do was play an interesting call that took place on JLR a couple days ago. In fact, it was like I was listening to it in the background. This came out, I think, 3 days ago. And then I looked, and Teresa from Criminality had texted me and said that it was an interesting phone call and I need to go back to that and listen to it. And I was like, I was a little bit. So I'm back at that and we can listen to it together. A nurse talks about pacemakers, basically. So me and Criminality found this to be interesting. So I'm going to play it and then we'll probably end for the evening. I'll check to see if anything's new on X. But last I checked, there was no update besides JLR posting. A lot of media, like I said, have gone home.
Years when they say, you know, you need to talk to this person or direct me to a certain thing, I take my viewers and the people watching very, very seriously.
Well, thank you. I appreciate all of them. I've been watching almost every day, trying to keep up. Thank you for what you're doing.
Wow.
I did want to talk about the pacemaker and the timeline that was put out by the sheriff.
Okay.
And it kind of struck me odd because the language they used was 2:28 a.m. pacemaker app shows disconnect from phone.
Yep.
Now, I'm a nurse practitioner. I've worked in critical care, hospital internal medicine, kidney transplant. I'm not a cardiology expert, so I'm just going to say that. So I did some research. Pacemakers do not stay constantly connected to their app. So the way they worded that, I think that misleads the public.
Yep.
In that everyone's now thinking it was 2:28 a.m. that she went out the front door. Now, most pacemakers, Medtronic, Abbott, Boston Scientific, upload once every 24 hours, usually between 1 and 3 a.m.
Ooh, okay.
So the fact that there's a 2:28 timestamp, I don't know that that's a disconnect from the phone so much as the app tried to connect to her and it failed, and that timestamp recorded.
So you guys hearing what she's saying? So in the timeline of events, which we went through earlier in the stream, hold on, I'll pull it up, that note, talking about what had occurred at 2:28. She said 2:29, I think. Well, regardless, it says Nancy's pacemaker disconnects from her smartphone. Investigators use this timeline in her disappearance. And this nurse is calling in and she says that basically they'll do a little update in the evening to connect. And so she's wondering if maybe that is related to it. They can, I think, Scottish, but at this point, I don't know. I need to listen to this more. They run on their own batteries, because that's the thing is like, don't you have to like charge them? I don't know. Not 100% up to speed with the pacemaker, but that's why I wanted to note this caller, because from what I did hear when this was live, it was interesting.
At that time.
I'm so sorry. Right.
Right.
Right. It tried to connect and it couldn't. Not that she walked away from her phone at 2:28.
Right. That's really important.
Yes. So I think the timeline of when she
So basically something could have happened to Nancy prior to 2:28, but at 2:28 was that refresh, kind of reconnect to the system in the middle of the night that she's claiming when she did her research on it all, that pacemakers do. So, and then it couldn't connect to her phone. This again is just speculation, but I think it's interesting. Because like I said in the wording of the timeline, it says around 2:28 a.m., Nancy's pacemaker disconnects from her smartphone. Investigators use this to estimate timing of her disappearance. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's not true too. Like they're basically saying they think in their timeline of her disappearance, at that point, something had occurred to Nancy. And like we kind of took it as she was taken out and it didn't connect, because she was taken out of the house at that point. But that's not necessarily what it means when it's basically saying that it didn't connect, and then that they're using that in their timeline of her disappearance, because they are. We just weren't, for me at least, because I don't know much about these pacemakers, I was looking at it kind of differently, where now I'm seeing like, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that she was taken out at that point or around that time. Like it just means hypothetically, if it was doing this reconnect and reset that it does in the middle of the night, that it wasn't able to connect then. So they're using that still in their timeline of her disappearance, but not in the way that I initially was thinking. Does that make sense?
actually left the house has a broader range than what people are thinking.
Understand that, you get a whole bunch of new subscribers.
Switch up my
Pacemakers, Medtronic, Abbott, Boston Scientific upload once every 24 hours, usually between 1 and 3 a.m.
Ooh, okay.
So the fact that there's a 2:28 timestamp, I don't know that that's a disconnect from the phone so much as the app tried to connect to her and it failed, and that timestamp recorded
at that time. At that time.
I'm so sorry.
Right. It tried to connect and it couldn't. Not that she walked away from her phone at 2:28.
Right. That's really important.
Yes. So I think the timeline of when she actually left the house has a broader range than what people are thinking.
So what type of broader range?
Right. Everyone's talking about 7 minutes from her house to the house that had
the white
footage from. Yeah.
Yeah, the white. We'll just call it.
Thank you, all Violet.
Kia Soul.
Yes, the Kia Soul. I think we need to broaden our thoughts on when she actually left the house, because that 2:12 a.m., doorbell cam that, there was activity there, that could be the time she left, not 2:28. That's almost 15 minutes of time that we're not accounting for. So,
but do you think there's a chance later, or you think it's more a chance earlier than the 2:28?
I think it's earlier, because I think if she was in the house and the app tried to.
So this whole time that we've been saying, 41 minutes, 40 minutes, they were in the house, what was going on? That doesn't necessarily mean that. She's saying between 1 and 3 in the morning, this occurs. So the 2:28, while it's been told to us that it's helped them create the timeline of her disappearance, that doesn't mean exact moment, literal, that's the time. It could be that time. It could be earlier. This is kind of speculating. So the caller who called in is an RN, and she has done her research, etc. So that's what this call is about.
Connect just to do its routine every 24-hour data upload, then it would have connected.
Yes.
It tried to connect and she wasn't there.
Well,
so she, I think, left before 2:28.
but that would also narrow the people say 40 minutes inside the house.
Right.
Then that actually would narrow it down. Could be 20 minutes or something in the house, maybe. Or 10.
Exactly. So I don't think it's 40 minutes. I don't know how long it is, but I don't think it's 40. So I just wanted to bring that up. I also, I think she left the house alive. And I think that based on the blood spatter pattern, I know there's been other nurses that have called in about that. My take on it is that if you look at the pattern of the blood droplets on the front porch, it very much looks like a nose or a mouth bleed. There's a small pattern. There's a small pattern about the size of a baseball or a softball. That's a very tiny blood spatter pattern. That is a cough. Someone is coughing, and that's a very forceful.
So then it goes back to the theories that we've been swirling around with and say that this was like either a planned one or spontaneous one after they found out. Like planned, I mean like people who knew someone close to her possibly hired out or something. Or they are random people, but they investigated and found out that the Guthrie family, you know, Savannah's family lived near them and it was opportunistic or something like that for ransom money, but it went wrong, you know, so the whole front of the house camera footage, I don't know. It's like, because they also talk about the back door being open. That came from Banfield. So the blood definitely, it's like, did something go wrong and then it was just easier to take her out the front? So then they had to take the camera footage out. You know what I mean? And they entered through the back where they were already waiting for her to get home. And then their kidnapping went in the direction they didn't plan. And so they did have to go around to the front and remove the camera because it was easier at that point to get her out of the house that way. I don't know. But this caller says more interesting stuff too. So,
You know, that air is forcing the blood out and you get really tiny little blood droplets. I think she was alive because some people have said she
alive
was,
but hurt. Alive
but hurt. So when you know, if you're bleeding from your nose or mouth, it goes down your throat. Your body doesn't want blood down your throat or in your stomach. So you start coughing. Sometimes people throw up if they get blood in their stomach. It looks like there's a cough there. So I feel confident she left the house alive.
And Steph, I want to make sure I understand. Let's step away from the Nest Cam picture in the front, okay? If it just most likely was connecting to the app at 2:18 about there every morning, it's very possible the last time it had connected was early Saturday morning at 2:18. Something could have happened after that. And then the next time it goes to connect at 2:18 on Sunday morning, it's not connecting. But we're right. Is that correct? At least the theory of that would be correct. Okay.
So if you have a pacemaker or I have a pacemaker and everything's hunky-dory and I'm not having any abnormal heart rhythms, that data only uploads every 24 hours to the cardiologist, just as a routine review. The only other time it's going to upload outside of that every 24-hour period is if you have an event. Your heart rate is out of range.
And some alert goes off.
So every 24 hours, it tries to do the update and connect. And she's saying, like, unless she had an event that took place in between the time that it tried to connect, there wouldn't be much of a read on it up until it tried to connect again at 2:28 in the morning. And that's when it couldn't. Yes, that's what I was thinking too, Anders. Like, just because Like, let's say that this RN and her theory is correct and that she believes that Nancy left alive. So we were talking about a kidnapping gone wrong. Well, maybe it wasn't so much that something went wrong, inside the house and she passed and then they carried her out. Maybe it was she left hurt and then they also didn't take her medication as well. So then they couldn't do proof of life and it turns into a botched kidnapping. The ransom never gets completed because they couldn't prove her life. And then the reward money that's been out now, over $1 million, doesn't get claimed because the only people who know are the ones that botched the kidnapping, and they're not going to come forward now for money. Again, this is just hypothetical.
Then it's going to want to connect to that app as soon as possible. So you have routine uploads and you have event uploads. This 228 connect.
And also keep in mind, in a lot of true crime cases we've seen, like, there is no perfect crime. Did somebody find out? You have to also look at the timeline. Apparently, Nancy had done that TV special with Savannah very closely up until her disappearance. So it was news that the Today Show was going to be filming in that area and her mother lived there. If you watch, more, I never saw it. I never knew anything really about Savannah until this case, but maybe the criminal did. Like, again, this is just hypothetical. Don't know. Because the added thing in this whole case is that the daughter is famous, public figure. Some people even speculated that maybe someone obsessed with Savannah, did this, and because the feelings obviously weren't reciprocated, like a crazed fan type thing, and this is retaliation. These are all the theories going around.
That was missed, to me, seems like a routine upload.
But what about if she sustained an injury? Would that send an alert?
It could, but because it's within that 1 to 3 a.m. time frame, I think it was a missed upload. Or it could be an attempt for an event, a recorded event. Say her heart rate jumped up very high, which could be completely reasonable. The pacemaker would want to send that information to the app.
Interesting.
It could happen, but I think it's a routine upload.
So we also have to keep that in mind too. The 228 timeline of when they think her disappearance took place, given her pacemaker info, it could have been her being scared somebody was in the house. So again, it's just kind of, this whole conversation has opened up like a little bit of a timeline for things, in my opinion, because I didn't know anything about this upload that takes place every 24 hours. And that could have been what the 228 read is.
That it couldn't connect.
Now, Steph, do you know, Nurse Stephanie, if you had a patient in distress, would that register with the app? For instance,
it tries to.
If you had someone having a heart attack, if someone was having a heart attack, would that register or try to with the app?
No.
It doesn't.
No, because it's a pacemaker.
Okay.
So if you had an abnormal heart rhythm in conjunction with your heart attack, it will catch that. But it's not going to know you're having a heart attack. It has to detect an abnormal heart rate or an abnormal heart
Well, I mean, would being spooked when you're sleeping cause your heart to go haywire?
Yes, it could. It could. And in that situation, the pacemaker wants to upload to the app right away. Now, whether it's in range or not is
So there could still be something on the pacemaker information that they have that hasn't been released to the public that could indicate like a previous, like her being something that registered that was significant. Or it could still be this update that takes place between that time frame every 24 hours. Both things are still possible. We don't know. Because there's not everything that they've given to the public too.
different story. So if you have an event and you're 100 feet away from your device, it's going to try to connect but can't. It will try to connect to that abnormal event as soon as you come back in range of your device. So it doesn't want.
So it has to be in range of that device for it to kind of update and show that an event had taken place if it's out of range. So if something happened to Nancy out of range from being able to kind of be near this to upload, that's why it's set to 1 to 3 a.m. because most people are home and they're able to connect so that this update can take place and you can get your reading on it. So if she's out of range, something happened, because some people say that they don't even believe Nancy made it home that night. I don't know where I stand like with all that because the blood and stuff, but some people are adamant to say that they don't know. So if something had happened to her out of range, it still, like, maybe that's why we don't have more information besides the 228, if the 228 was the update. Because she never made it back in range for it to connect to it. And the 228 is, like this nurse is saying, is the time where she tried to connect to it and it couldn't because she's out of range of it. Do you guys understand where I'm going with all that? So something could have happened to her that would have caused a spike or something to register about her pacemaker. And it would have shown that if she ever made it back to being near her device, it would have updated that. Maybe that did happen and they haven't shared that event that took place and the time it did according to the pacemaker. But at 2:28, something happened. Either it tried to connect to the home base and it couldn't. And then that's what that is, or an event took place at 2:28. Both things could be possible at this point.
To connect constantly because you want your battery on your pacemaker to last a long time, right? 7 to 12 years is average. If that pacemaker is constantly trying to connect to the app and send data, your battery is going to drain very quickly. So it only uploads routinely and in an emergency. That's it.
So possible that you got out of the house much earlier than the 2:28-ish.
It's possible. I'm just saying, I think we need to expand our minds when we're thinking about when she left the house and when we're looking for strange cars.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No. That's pretty much all I was going to say.
Well, I'm thinking, from this house, in order to get to most of the main routes, it's about 5 minutes.
Right.
About 5 minutes.
Yep.
You're going to get to any one of these main roads. I mean, the farther west, it's going to take a while, but, to get to the closest, you get to Orange Grove, you get over to Campbell here would probably be the quickest. Few minutes.
And Nurse Stephanie, though, you raise a good point because there's this perception of just what you said, that the individual was in the house for 40 minutes. So I think, let's talk about that. What does that mean? Is there a conversation going on? Is there listen, tell me where the safe is, or are they waiting for a ride? Are they communicating to someone like, I'm here, like, where are you? Like, let's just, do you have a theory? Or let's talk about that. Why? Because that's one of the things that jumps out. It's so unusual. You would think it would be in and out, right? Like, you want to get out of there. You want to be sticking around.
I totally agree. I don't think they were there for 40 minutes. I think the way that the timeline was worded with the pacemaker disconnecting at 2:28 throws everybody off. I don't think it was a B&E gone wrong. I think they went in, they got her, and they got out. And I think that 2:12 camera connection with whoever this super creepy guy is, I think that's almost after they had her secured outside of the house.
No,
just a guess.
Stephanie,
just a guess.
Stephanie, you're saying they. So you are intimating you think it was more than one person.
I think it would have to be. I mean, she is an 84-year-old woman with mobility issues.
Yep.
I don't know how you could go in as one person and think that that's going to go well.
Well, we've heard the tarp. We heard the tarp theory. Tarp in the backpack. Another one said a trash can, put some money in a trash
said
can.
a wheelbarrow.
Wheelbarrow, golf
wheelbarrow.
cart. We've heard other things that a single person can do, but one person, I mean, I guess if you have a gun and you point a gun to somebody's head and you tell them to keep moving into
Stephanie,
a car.
don't you think that's overkill though? Like, I have an 84-year-old woman who needs her medication with a pacemaker. Like, is this really a gun to the head scenario? Isn't she just shocked?
But
that
you
you're
can't
there
put the
and
gun to the
overwhelmed?
head because
No,
the
I'm saying
hands,
I believe they said she was dropped off around 9:48 or something, 9:45 maybe. It was kind of late in my opinion for 84. But
I'm saying I don't think it would have to be.
Yeah.
Like, you need to show you mean business. I don't even think you need the weapon.
Yeah, you really just have to have it present in
You're
the person's.
overpowering them of just
Like, I
your
got a gun.
presence.
Look, I got a gun.
Yeah.
Look.
yes.
So you think
And again, I think that gun totally could be fake.
several
It
people?
could be. It
You
could
think-
be one person. Sure. I don't think it is. I think
I also think, and I don't know what you guys think, share your thoughts, but I think it's more than one person involved also. Definitely think more than one person involved.
it's more than one person. Somebody's driving sort of the getaway car or whatever. I just don't see one person going in and thinking that they're going to successfully get her out of the house all on their own.
How are they?
Did they use a gun to, scare her into getting out of the house quickly? Sure. I don't think she was dragged out or put in a trash can or, thrown in a grocery bag. I think she walked out, and I think that because of the way the blood spatter is on the front porch and the fact that there's an obvious cough, she was standing up. They were getting her out of the house in some way, and probably at gunpoint would be my guess.
Again, I'm just gonna push back. I don't know if you need to even display a weapon when you have someone.
He may
like
not.
that, right?
Sure.
I don't even.
Sure.
Let's just take the weapon out of it. You have this masked goon. You're saying there's even a second one. I don't know. What is she going to try to fight them unless they have a weapon? Like, I don't think there's much resistance here. I think you're just so frightened that you're along for the ride. The blood could be that maybe I hate to say it, but struck her, and then Savannah and the sheriff.
I think
It's a nosebleed and mouth injury.
they struck her in the face.
Yeah. Which is
Remember, they had the homicide unit go in pretty immediately. Obviously they think something violent could have occurred. Whether she left alive or not is still up for debate.
They
why
punched her
bleeding? Yes.
to stun her,
Yes.
to get her to comply,
Yep.
and that's why you get a cough mark of the blood. When they get a cough mark of blood is if there's blood in the mouth.
Right.
And that's coming from the nose or somewhere in the mouth.
And then that's why you have the blood trail from the bedroom right out the door, and then it ends on the second step because then they're putting in her a vehicle.
To be ashamed of yourself.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mm.
Yes. So I don't know. I don't have all the answers, and I've gone back and forth on all sorts of different scenarios. I'm not sold on any one of them, but I know she left alive. That's all I can say.
There's Stephanie. I do have a question though. What about the photo of him without the backpack? Do you think was that the same night or a different night?
I think it was a different night, and I don't say that because I have any sort of expertise. I just listened to other people discussing it with the moon and the amount of light that was available. It does look very dark.
We are in
picture of him without the backpack, and there appears to be a lot of ambient light in the photos, video of him with the backpack. So I think.
All right. If you want to see that stream, it's over on JLR. It's from, I think, 3 days ago at this point. But yeah, those are the updates since we've last spoke. Hold on. Let's go through in slow motion this footage. Is this related to anything? This is 2:36 in the morning. So to look at the timeline, around 2:28, Nancy's pacemaker, zooming in, disconnects from her smartphone. Investigators use this to estimate timing of her disappearance. This is a neighbor's camera. And it's at 2:36. Hold on. This is the first. Okay, yeah, so it's the morning, right? Early in the morning. Last seen with Tommaso dropping her off. Law enforcement has later changed their wording to with family at 9:45 p.m. The pacemaker cannot connect at 2:28 and then, or disconnects. Pacemakers disconnected 2:28. This is 2:36. This is slowed down and then I'll play regular speed. Is this related? Why is this, come out to the public in reference to the case? Hold on. Suspicious right around the time. Or is this nothing? Regular speed.
On camera at Nancy's front door. It's also 8 minutes after her pacemaker disconnected from her cell phone, which is the moment she is thought to have been taken from her house.
But like we've learned now, that doesn't necessarily, it could definitely be when she has the jump scare because people are in her house and taking her. 2:28, something indicates that on the pacemaker. Or it could be like that RN said, and we can maybe open the window a little bit. And that was just when the pacemaker tried to do the update that it does every 24 hours. And that's when it couldn't connect to her smartphone. So I don't know. Thought all that was interesting. Is this car related? Is it not? Share your thoughts, but we'll be doing our next deep dive on the Watts polygraph this week. So stay tuned for that. I appreciate you guys being here. Hopefully we can get more updates in the direction of this investigation going somewhere as far as movement. From, tomorrow from the sheriff would be nice at the month mark. But again, I won't hold my breath. Hold on, let me see. We went through basically everything related to Luke's interview in the beginning of the stream. So check that out. And it says, the latest from JLR 42 minutes ago, reporting from outside the Pima County Sheriff's Department, these SWAT vehicles are idle and ready to apprehend the perp. Where is Nancy? We saw Tommaso, Annie, and Savannah placing flowers at the memorial that was made outside of Nancy's home today. So that was something that we've all noticed because they've been cleared by the sheriff and they clearly stand together by the public's appearance. We also went through one of these articles that talk about how there's rumors that the Guthrie family might sue Ashley Banfield for her accusations. But we then went into information about how they still have Annie and Tommaso's vehicle impounded. And why is that? So a lot of different things. Don't really know where to go as far as where I stand, like officially with what I think happened, because it's, like I said, hard to get your footing at all. I bookmarked some other interesting call-ins for JLR, but I think will end things for right now. But definitely check out when he has people calling in, because a lot of people have interesting theories and it might help expand your own theory. But I will talk to you guys soon. Stay tuned for updates. I am still trying to follow the trial right now with Corey Richins, So hope maybe I can come up with a stream to discuss that. But yeah, it's very interesting following that also. If you guys are following it, you guys must know what I'm talking about. But I'll talk to you guys later. Good night.